Alright. Hello. How do I start this? I don't really want to do this. And that's exactly why I'm going to. My name is Max. I've just turned 23 today. It's been 5 years after I finished high school. Thereabouts. And for all the places I had expected I'd be in, all the circumstances, all the situations I figured I'd be in, with all of the ideals and sort of plans and were really just simply hopes and wishes I'd had for myself. I've put in very little action to see that through. That's what this is going to be all about. I'm going to start to actually document my life. I'm going to start to document my days and make sure that I'm holding myself accountable, to make sure that I am doing the things that I not so much would just like to do, but I'm actually getting them done. I've not put much emphasis on that for myself. I've not put in much effort to see that through these last few years. I want that to change, and I know that this is going to be one of the best ways that I can enact that change for myself. Now, over the last few days, knowing that my birthday was coming up, I figured I would create a plan to do over the next 31 days. I would do 31 things that scared me. 31 things that make me feel uncomfortable. 31 things that I don't really want to do, but I should. And so I will. For no other reason now than because, well, I've got to hold myself accountable to this. Because before, I wasn't. And that wasn't right. But I didn't really want to. See, I realized that the thing that held me back was the fear of failure, the fear of going up to somebody and I realized I was just exaggerating this concern. There shouldn't be any concern. I realized now looking at it, if I were to do a lot of these things, or a lot of the things that I know I should be doing, but I go, oh, I don't know if I should be this open or vocal or transparent about this. If I was watching somebody else do this, I'd say fair enough. And there are some people who I do watch online on YouTube that do this. I don't really care about it so much as I enjoy their content. I don't really intend to become some big shot on YouTube or documenting my life. I've got very little intent. That's not the intention behind this itself. I will post all of this online, I will post on YouTube, and it will be a very simple way for me to keep track of this and actually thoroughly track the progress I've made. See, I've not really had to commit to anything that strenuous for a very long time. It's a time to do that. It's a time to make that change. First scary thing I'm going to do today is actually not just record this video, but I'm going to actually create a YouTube channel. And the intention behind doing these things that freaked me out a little bit, that made me feel a little bit trepidatious, was a video I saw months ago, and I'd sort of implemented a lot of these things along the way. Slowly, I had once I went straight into it after watching this video, and then I just lost sight, I lost track of it, and I stopped. Because I just sort of became lazy again. Because I was the only person keeping myself accountable. And it's quite easy not to do that when you don't really want to, and nobody else is there kind of saying you have to be accountable. But it was this video of David Goggins with Andrew Huberman, and Dr. Andrew Huberman was pointing out, he highlighted the study that he read that talked about how, I'll explain this, I'll show the video and then I will explain this in further detail. And I don't usually wear a suit. I don't usually get dressed up, you know, on a day-to-day basis, but I figure if I'm gonna start something, I might as well start it off on the right foot. It might actually be something I do. You know, this is going to be a lot of sort of baby steps, which sounds a little embarrassing. It sounds a little bit simple and dull. That's okay, because I'm making this for myself. And I know that a lot of things that are holding me back are things that I know I should change. Are things that for years I've gone, you know what, like I don't have to really be concerned about this. Like, why would I? But it still does. And then I let that, you know, initial kind of anxiety, cortisol kick in, and then I don't even try. I kind of try and move myself. I try and shift my focus to something that's going to make me feel a little better. And so I completely forget about that, and I forget about the thing that I said wouldn't be an issue. I forget about that whole act, doing that act, or changing that thing, or taking that leap. And I just revert back to easy habits. That's what I need to change. That is what I need to change. See, I've actually never really played around with editing really almost any videos. I think I did a little bit in middle school, but other than that, not really. It'll be interesting to see how I actually work through all of that, whether making videos is going to be way more tedious than I thought. Probably won't be. I'll keep it very simple. I'll just record these videos. I'll also try and make sure that every day to sort of give me something to talk about, or give me something to actually present or highlight. A genuine, valid reason for myself to actually commit to making a video, to making some form of content, and holding myself to doing something consistently for 31 days. I mean, doing this for 31 days is going to be quite uncomfortable. I could literally just make the excuse or make the lazy statement and go, oh yeah, what if I just make 31 videos in 31 days? Oh, you know, that's that box ticked. Obviously, that's not going to be, I won't do that. This would intentionally be the add-on to that. This will be the documentation of me going through that path. And it's not going to be, you know, it's going to be no fancy graphics. It's just going to be a very basic journal for me to keep track of things. We'll see how things go over the first 31 days. First, I got to commit to doing this for a week, and then 2 weeks, and 3 weeks, and then hopefully I get to the 4th week, and then do a little bit on top of that. We'll see. Okay, so I've actually just watched through the first two clips that I made. The first one where I introduced myself, and the second one where, God, I gotta actually realize what I've done wrong here. So I've actually just watched back over the last two clips that I made, at least of me talking. The first one where I introduced myself and I tried to explain what it is that I'm doing with this. The second one about, going on about how I dress. Really about what I'm wearing today. I won't do a whole fashion haul because I don't think anybody wants that, but I realized the mistake that I made was I've got this microphone and I actually flipped it inside the jacket, and that's why it's making that rustling sound. Now I've added this little fluffy thing onto it, so we'll see, and also I've flipped the microphone to be on the outside of the jacket, so there's actually no interference. See, this whole thing is a learning progress. I figure that if I'm trying to make the best quality content and I'm just trying to make something that from the get-go people are going to want to watch and seeing, oh wow, this is great content. First off, probably do not watch this. It's like, you likely are going to find that here. But it's going to be authentic and genuine. And also, it's funny because having watched that, having sort of seen myself do this at first, I'm doing this with no script here. This first one, I'm playing it as it goes. So hopefully this all kind of comes together well, but even then, yeah, I definitely know that over time, as I'm giving myself way more time in front of the camera, as I make these videos, as I learn how to actually put them all together, yeah, I think I've got a really great way to actually expand my communication skills, actually be more comfortable talking, and not just talking, but actually being able to understand that I can take a breath when I speak. I can actually slow down what I'm saying so that it's much easier to hear what I'm trying to articulate, A, but B, it actually gives me another minute or another second or two to really actually try and get my thoughts together and have it make sense. And that is also one of the key benefits behind this is, one thing that I've where I found myself today is I've kind of shelled myself. I've kind of built this cocoon over myself, which has been completely self-inflicted. I've done this completely through my own volition. And I will explain a little bit about that. Maybe, if not tomorrow, the day after. I will actually put together a bit of a structure and actually make certain, just got a message, getting distracted. I will actually put together things that I'm gonna want to talk about in different videos, mainly for me to talk about this and get this out from inside onto something for myself. If anybody watches this and they find engagement, they find entertainment, they find some value in it, very happy for you. If not, you watch it, cool. If you want to just sort of be a bit of a troll, I don't know why you would. Be almost be a little bit lame. I'll admit, probably a little more lame than me doing this and posting this live, posting this online. But yeah, thinking about this quote that came to mind when I was looking back on what I just recorded, and that was literally about 4 or 5 minutes of me watching all of that before I've sort of made this third clip today, where I've sort of changed a few things, try to make sure that I am maybe a little bit more open, where you can see more of my body, you can maybe see a little more of my hand movements, because that helps when talking, I think. but there's this quote from Winston Churchill, and again I'm going to butcher it. I'll sort of put a picture of it here. And that's going to be the exact quote, you know, but I'm going to be saying this not having read that quote, but it was basically to sum it up from my understanding of it and what I've taken away from it, is that we are way too in our own heads. At least I'm in my own head way too much. That's actually why this is going to be a great thing for me. Already, I mean, 5-10 minutes in, having just watched myself back, and sort of what I will do is when I sort of film these, I'll sort of play back on myself from where I was, and then kind of add on top of that if I miss something, if I need to clarify something, so that I make more sense to myself. Because what I find myself doing half the time is, I know that I'm trying to explain something, and in my head it makes perfect sense, and I get out like 80% of it, but the last 20% just finishes it all off. Or it's you know, if I've got 100% of something that I'm wanting to discuss, there'll be like pockets in there where I leave out maybe 5% of things, which add up to about 20% of all of this, which makes up 20% collectively of everything that I'm trying to say. But without that extra 20%, I'm not giving a full story. I'm not really explaining myself to the fullest extent. And I can find that sometimes when I talk to people, they're sort of, you can almost see they're scratching their head. And in the past, I sort of struggled a bit with a stutter. So I used to always think, even up until very recently, like, oh, it's just got to do with the fact that I've got a marginal speech impediment. And now I'm kind of realizing, no, it's because I'm not making that much sense half the time. So I want to change that. That's, you know, also one of the key benefits to making this sort of video journal for myself. I don't have a name yet. I probably will call it a journal. I don't want to call it a vlog. It is a video log, but I don't want to sound like, you know, a wannabe vlog influencer. Okay. I'm now just playing around with different sort of lights, seeing if it helps to have a little bit more front lighting. I'm sure over time I'll figure out all of the ins and the outs, the sayings within videography. It's early days. Actually, see if that's better. Is that any better? I don't know. That's probably warmer colors nicer. Probably don't need to look more pale. Alright, well, that's what it looks like without having a little more light. Heck, I'll still post this in that video. I can live with that.